You are loved with an everlasting love. That's what the Bible says. And underneath are the everlasting arms. This is your friend Elisabeth Elliot, talking again today with my daughter Valerie and her husband Walt Shepard. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. We wanted to talk about raising boys because my husband is great at doing chores on Saturday morning and roping in one or two of the boys to do them with him. The younger ones especially love to work alongside their dad, and I think it's so important that boys see their fathers working around the house. They need to see that example of servanthood. They need to see that it's masculine and good and right to do chores around the house. Most often my husband is working outside because we have a pool, but we have a small yard, and there are always all kinds of little projects that need to be done. We have a side yard that continually needs to be swept out, and Walt will tell Jim, who is our 10-year-old, to go out and sweep the side yard and put the trash cans in order. What is it that motivates you or gives you joy when you work with your boys?
Well, again, it goes back to the way I was raised. I had a father who didn't spend a whole lot of time talking. My dad wasn't the kind that would share his feelings, but Dad always wanted me beside him working, learning how as fast as I could to work with him. And I just remember taking great pride out of being able to be assigned a job. And it might be something really dumb, like taking down a brick wall and taking each brick and cleaning each brick because we were going to use it for another job. The motivation was that just the satisfaction in seeing my dad happy with the job that I'd done. So I'd certainly do that with my own kids. I just didn't want my boys growing up not having known or having learned how to really work and work hard, and even, by God's grace, find joy in it. I remember little Walter, our first and our only one, at the time he began crawling. Do you remember we taught him how to pick up all the trash in the various trash cans and drag them into the kitchen and then put them into a bag. And then I would carry him on my hip, and we'd go out to a little burning area where we could burn the trash together, and it was just the fascination to watch. We both are pyromaniacs in the closet. But it was just a thrill to be able to see how quickly he caught on, and then to see, yes, as you grow older, we're going to expect more responsibilities. Well, of course, none of them have been hurt by this, and occasionally you'll get a challenge. I remember we had almost an acre of lot in the house we lived in before we moved to California, and just the sheer thrill that he got out of mowing that lawn all by himself. And it took a little manner of exercise out of my life, but you've got to be able to let him go on some things.
Yesterday, or about 2 days ago, you had told Jim that after his schoolwork was done, after lunch, he was to take apart a cabinet that you had taken the Formica top off of the cabinet, but he was to unscrew everything and pull apart the doors, and because we were going to throw it away. Well, I had only known slightly that you had given him this job, but after lunch I had asked him to get the dishes done, which was his normal chore on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, to get the lunch dishes done. And he said, "No, Mom, I can't do the dishes because Dad has asked me to pull apart that cabinet, and it's going to take me all afternoon." And I said, "Jim, I don't think it'll take you more than about an hour, and you have 3 or 4 hours ahead of you. You must do the lunch dishes." "I can't do the lunch dishes because then I won't get the cabinet done, and Dad's going to be mad at me if I don't get the cabinet done. Then I won't have obeyed him because he told me that I had to take the cabinet apart. And Mom, it's going to take me a whole hour to do the lunch dishes." I said, "Jim, it will not take you a whole hour to do the lunch dishes. It's going to take you maybe 30 minutes, but 20 minutes probably." And so he stomped off into the kitchen to do the lunch dishes, and I said, "I will set the timer for 20 minutes, and if you're not done in 20 minutes, then you may go out and start doing the cabinet." So he glumly started doing the kitchen, and sure enough, in 20 minutes he was done, and he went outside, started working on the cabinet, and within 45 minutes he was done with taking apart the whole cabinet. And he came in looking quite cheerful, and I said, Jim, was that fun taking apart the cabinet? He said, yeah, I had so much fun smashing the doors.
Yeah, it's great fun.
And I said, it didn't take you all afternoon, did it? And he said, no. I said, so you didn't need to do that arguing with me, did you? No. But just the sense of responsibility he had was great. I appreciated the fact that you had given him a job to do, and he wanted to get it done. Of course, it was lots of fun to be able to pull apart something like that.
Well, he's a good worker, but we manly guys, we were trying to raise boys, we're trying to raise young men to do their jobs without whining. And one of the secrets that you learn to do is when you give the assignment, walk away. Don't stay around for some whining argument.
That's what I do all the time. I stay around.
You got to learn not to do this. We're learning things on your program here. But being outnumbered as we are, we guys have to stick together. We got a lot of work to do cleaning up after you women. I really I long for my boys to learn the joy out of working hard. It was your stepfather who made that quote, that he just didn't trust a man who didn't work up a good sweat. And there's some real good wisdom to that.
Mm-hmm.
The Bible says, if a man will not work, he shall not eat.
That's right.
I think it's just tragic that so many young parents today haven't taught their children to work at all. They think that they shouldn't start it till the kid is about 10 or 12 or 15. Mm-hmm. Well, that's about 8 years too late, right? Mm-hmm. I remember being there when the day that Walter first brought a wastebasket to you. I mean, this was before you were actually teaching him to work. You were wondering how much he understood. He was not old enough to speak a word. No. He was a toddler. Mm-hmm. And you were so excited, and you said to me, I asked Walter to go into the other room and bring the wastebasket. And you know what? He went into the other room and he brought the wastebasket. Mm-hmm. He understood every word I said. Mm-hmm. Well, that was the basic thing. Just tell him to do something. We
have to be quick and say, you can't just expect a child to learn how to work. You've got to work alongside of him.
And Jesus said, I do the works that I see my Father do.
Yeah. It's just a great way to teach a kid a respect for authority in doing a job. And of course, you don't want him to fail. So you have ways to work with him and help him do a good job with it. You don't want him to just become sloppy and careless.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you think your sons ought to learn to wash dishes, too. Mm-hmm. I think boys can get the idea, I don't have to do that because I'm not a girl. That's a girl's job. And I had a letter from a mother saying, I've got 3 girls and 1 boy, and I want him to learn to do the dishes, but I can't think why he should. Mm-hmm. So I suggested that it was really quite simple. Just say, this is our home, and we all serve each other, and this is one of the ways you can learn to serve. But what good's a man going to be if he can't cope on his own? I mean, any man's going to be stuck with cooking and washing dishes at some time in his life, one would think.
I think part of helping a boy to become manly, to become masculine, is letting them go as they get to be 10, 11, and 12, letting them go to do jobs on their own without hovering over them. And there are some times when Jim wants me to help him get the kitchen cleaned up because it will look like a total disaster, once we've had lunch. And then there are other times when I know that he knows exactly what he's supposed to do, and he wants to get it done by himself and to be able to have the job accomplished on his own. But I've seen boys who have been too domineered by their mothers who don't seem to grab onto responsibility on their own. They're just always told they must do this, they must do this. And they don't even develop masculine features. They don't even develop a masculine voice because they haven't been allowed to go out and do on their own what they need to do. They haven't been allowed to be independent from their mother. Is that a wild theory that it's only my opinion, or what? It's just...
It sounds very reasonable to me. What do you think, Walt?
I don't know. I can honestly say I don't know. It's a very upsetting thing when your boy can't seem to relate to some of the other boys because they're so wimpy, or they're so cowed by whatever is going on at home. You're in a real troubled area there. I think to try to sort out what other people are going through or what the people are reacting to. I just know that, boy, the responsibility on us men is to model for our sons how they're supposed to be in this life, and it's the scariest thing in the world.
Surely you have been setting a good example in the way you treat Val, and I think that's one of the lessons that young men are not learning necessarily because they don't see respect. And the same thing, of course, is true from your side, Val. You respect your husband, and your girls see that and realize that it is part of what it means to be a woman. It's part of femininity. It's been a great pleasure to have both of you on my program, Val and Walt. You've been listening during this week and last week to my daughter Val and Walt Shepard. They live in California. I live in Massachusetts. So of course I don't get to see them nearly as often as I'd like to, but we're happy that we can get together this time and have these chats about marriage and parenthood, what it's like to be a pastor and a pastor's wife. Thank you, and God bless you.